everyone, and welcome to the Cool Down Room. I'm Alise.
And I'm Chloe.
And it's race week, so let's talk about the Japanese Grand Prix. First of all, Fernando had his baby.
So cute.
Fernando's a dad. Good for him. I heard that, and I was like, Fernando, you can stay home. You don't have to be at this race right now.
Well, also, it was really funny because they kept saying that it was like a family medical thing, and I was like, oh no. And then I forgot his wife was pregnant, and I was like, oh, well, that. And then when they were like, he had his baby, I was like, that would do it. The Mercedes livery sucked.
It was so bad. I get it.
Bad.
Toto, I get it. I really do. Your last name is Wolf, and we want to lean into that, but they were ugly. You can lean into that in a way better way.
Yeah. I saw a lot of reels that said that the fuck-ass Ferrari hats from last year that everybody kept making sex jokes about, that walked so this could run.
It really did.
It really did.
It really did walk so this could run because it just looks like I saw it and I was like, is there ash? Like, did they get sprayed by a fire extinguisher?
I think they're supposed to be like clawed up by like
or like it's like fur or something, like wolf fur, but it just looks bad.
Know.
Guys, we can do better.
And it was the car and the suits, which didn't help.
It really did not. It really just made everything worse. It was bad.
Yeah.
And I do expect better from Mercedes.
Yeah.
Jonathan Wheatley left Audi. He spent about 5 minutes with Matteo Binotto and decided it wasn't worth it, is what I have to assume happened. But that does mean that Matteo Binotto is the current head of the Audi F1 team, which is scary. Because if we've all seen that picture of a guy like pointing his finger at George, that's him.
Yep.
Or not George, Jesus, Charles.
Oh.
Because Matteo Binotto used to be like the head of Ferrari. He used to be like Ferrari's team principal, I think, or at least like CEO of the team. And he's not anymore.
Oh.
Now it's Fred Vassar, and we love him dearly.
The V-Carb livery was so good.
Oh,
like,
yes.
On the other
okay.
end of the spectrum. They did it in a garage, and it was like Tokyo Drift themed, and they had cars drift around with like curtains attached, and then they like drove off, and the curtain pulled away, and it was like this car, and it was sick.
This is how we know teams could do better.
Yeah.
Because another team did better.
Yep.
And another team that probably has less of, actually it's V-Carb, so they might not have less of a budget. Red Bull just tends to throw money at their teams, but.
Max sidequested so hard during his week off. He did a race at Nuremberg and then won, but then got disqualified because something with his tires.
Max just side quests, and I respect him for it. I love a side quest.
All of the like Red Bull videos where they'll be like, this person did a crazy trick on a bike. This person did like a front flip off of a building. Max is like the representative for the F1. So like anything where it's like Red Bull this, Red Bull that with F1, it's always Max.
It's always Max.
So he was like, Nuremberg, sure, why not?
I love the fact that he raced under a fake name at one point. That is so fucking funny to me. And you know what? Valid. You would do it. I would do it too. That's hilarious. That's some Hannah Montana. Aston Martin confirmed that it is an internal combustion engine issue that is causing the vibrations. And apparently the car worked fine before. And then when they put the internal combustion engine into the chassis, it stopped working. And now it's causing vibration issues.
I think it's just more than that. I think it's just like not a good car. And I'm not the only one to say it.
I think it not being a good car is like adding to the, like, I think it's making it worse. I think maybe it would be because, so my friend does sim racing, a very good friend of mine does sim racing, and he said, he was telling me a while back, because he was like, have you ever been to Chuck E. Cheese?
No.
Okay, so at the Chuck E. Cheese where I like grew up going to, there was this game, and it had like a gorilla on it, and there was like a little lever, and you held the lever, and it would shake super hard. And if the whole goal was that like you were supposed to hold it the entire time, the cars shake like that. Like the cars kind of vibrate either way, and so the wheel is really hard to hold on to, even in sim racing. And so my friend was like, I can't imagine. Shout out Nick, can't imagine like doing it in a regular car because it would be so much worse. Right? Yeah. Like, it's probably way worse than a regular car. So I think there's already some level of, like, it's hard to hold the steering wheel because when you're going that fast, things tend to vibrate a little bit. But it's the amount that it's vibrating that's making it bad.
This is, like, a lot of the drivers' favorite track. There's a part where they go on a overpass while other drivers are on the track below, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
There was a journalist at press day who Max absolutely despises. Max literally said, I'm not starting until he leaves. And the journalist was like, are you still hung up on Abu Dhabi from last year? And Max was like, yep.
Well, I thought he like asked another bad question. Like he like brought it up again. Like the journalist brought it up again or something. And he was like, get the out. Like, are we being so for real right now? And now apparently there are journalists boycotting interviews with Max. Don't you understand that is what he wants? Max does not like
Max
media day. We know Max does not like media day. Like, you're giving him what he wants. Okay, FP1.
Hello, female broadcaster, whose name I don't know. But she sounds great. Jack Crawford, racing for Aston Martin. He's American. I don't like the way he spells his name. It's J-A.
I'm so upset that I missed this. I had like something that night, so I couldn't watch FP1, and I'm so upset that I missed it because I love to see an American driver on the track.
Yeah.
His name, so here's the thing, is Jack Crawford's name sounds so familiar to me, and I texted my friend, the same friend who does sim racing, the first time I heard about him. I was like, do we know a Jack Crawford? Because his name sounds really familiar to me. I was like, does one of us know him? Like, is that it? And he was like, I really don't think that's it. But also, I think he's from the same place as one of my teachers. So that might be why.
Both Racing Bulls and George went off at the same turn. And I was like, okay. And Alex missed the wall by like 2 inches. By like that much.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
George drifted through Spoon, which I think is the same place that Alex almost hit the wall. And yes, there is a corner legitimately called Spoon.
Was so confused all weekend. I was like, Spoon?
It's a corner.
Am I hearing that right? And then I saw your note and I was like, oh my God, that makes so much more sense now.
There is legitimately a corner called Spoon. I don't know why, but it's there.
I love that.
Charles also went off there. A lot of drivers were actually going off a little bit at that corner, which is not, you normally don't crash there though. Foreshadowing.
Yeah. Also, everybody was mad. George got mad at Checo. He said, what's this idiot doing? Who was that? And his engineer went, that's Perez. And he said, well, obviously.
He was like, of course that's Perez. What does that mean, George?
Excuse me. And then Checo later collided with Alex. And Checo had no idea that Alex was next to him. And the commentator still kind of blamed it on Alex. And I was like, excuse me.
I think this is one of those, I don't think it's necessarily either one of their faults.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Checo didn't know Alex was there. And he probably should be checking his mirrors more, but Alex maybe shouldn't have taken that lunge.
Yeah.
Especially not in FP1. Like,
yeah.
Alex, there was not enough room for Alex to go. And I think it's kind of on both of them at that point.
Charles, Oscar, and Pierre were duking it out one point, and Oscar didn't manage to pass either of them. And he just goes, well, that didn't go well, over the radio.
That just made me laugh.
Yeah, the commentators were like, oh my God, we're getting so much action in like FP1.
Okay, FP2, I look away for 2 seconds. And when I look back, there was a virtual safety car. And I was like, what the hell? But they were just testing it, so it was fine. And I didn't realize. And I was like, I looked away for about 2 seconds. Yeah. And somebody screwed up. And that is not what happened. They were just testing it because they test it every time now.
Arvid had a gear shift issue. When he first discovered it, he went, yeah, what's going on? He was so confused.
That poor boy.
And his engineer said, everything seems to be fine. And he goes, well, it's not. I've got 2 tires that went down a gear, and I have anti-stall. He was like, it is very much not okay. He was like, what are you talking about? And then they were like, okay, box, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
That just makes me laugh. We think it's fine. It's obviously not fine.
It's obviously not. I think the reason we have 9 pages of notes is because why did so much happen during FP2?
Right. What is up with that? They called Lewis. They go, previous winner of the Japanese Grand Prix.
Come on.
Be so for real. He has won every race.
If you're going to say his name, give him some respect.
Like, I know
he's
it's
like
the Japanese
GOAT of
Grand
F1.
Prix.
Like, come on now.
I know that's why you're saying that, but he's won basically every race that is ever like on this track. Or on any track, I mean. So, like, I feel like we can do away with the previous winner of whatever Grand Prix. It's Lewis Hamilton. We know he's won here. Is there a track he hasn't won at? I'm not sure. Oh my God. Pierre goes, yeah, what the fuck is the Williams doing when the Williams got in his way? I think it was Alex. And he said it in the exact same way I would, and so like a Valley girl. And I was like, okay, Pierre.
No, they were all salty. They were all so
salty this week.
I was like, you're in the pit lane. Calm down.
Yeah.
Alex actually left enough space for Pierre, and then said that maybe Pierre was just trying to make a point, and like the commentators were like, maybe Pierre was just trying to make a point about himself. They honestly didn't know what happened. Yeah, I honestly can relate because I don't know why I wrote that. Anyway. But like the commentators were like, I don't know why that just happened. They were confused.
Even the commentators too were like, oh, like the drivers aren't being very nice to each other. Like they're all grumpy. And I was like, I wonder why. Maybe it's because most of them are like basically 2 races.
All of April got canceled. Like
all of April canceled. The last 2 races, 6 people DNF'd both times.
Yeah.
It is a miracle only 2 people DNF'd this time. Like, I wonder why they're all grumpy.
Yeah. Alex was mad at Kimmy because he was going slower than him. And Alex was like, what he's doing is dangerous. Girl, calm down.
Girl.
It's probably for his own
which
safety.
is funny because then the throttle wasn't working on Alex's car, and so he was forced to go slower, and then there was a yellow flag. I think that's karma. But they fixed it on track. Like, it was fine. Like, he, like, slowed down and pulled off to his side, and he had his little hazards on, and then they managed to, like, reboot it. And so that's
every time they put the hazards on, it just makes me giggle because I forget that F1 cars
I love
have
the hazards. I love that they're there. I love that they look even more like a real car now, and I love that we have a little bit more safety.
Yeah. They called Charles's car a bit of a handful this session. Yeah, because the Ferrari is a shitbox at the moment.
Because the Ferrari, here's the thing is, I don't even think the Ferrari is necessarily bad. I think maybe they just put a bad upgrade package on it because it was acting up.
Yeah, it was.
They had too
much oversteer. So it was like,
maybe this was it. There was something, maybe it was Ferrari. There was some team that had a package that they added like in the last 2 weeks that was adding like inherent oversteer to the car. And it might have been Ferrari. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I reference it.
Yeah.
Okay. Lando didn't go out until there were like 28 minutes left. So not great for him. Oh, maybe it was Gabby because Gabby had a full rear end change, gearbox included. And so he was not having a great time. Oh, maybe this is also part of the reason that the notes are so long is because, like, my note right here is session's so boring. Palmer started talking about how he and Lawrence were arguing about something something Lawrence had said because Lawrence said this is the worst start for a champion back in F1 to defend his championship in a decade, which is not technically no, I think it is technically true because the last person who had this bad of start was Lewis in 2009. He was like quizzing them. They were doing pop quizzes. It was great. This is going to be my mini rant. Because Lewis got 3rd place but got disqualified in his first race and then got 7th in round 2. Lando got 5th in his first race and did not start in his second. And Lewis was the last McLaren champion before Norris. And then there were like 4 other people in the last 30 years that have had worse starts than Lando after their championship win, which Lewis 2009, Michael Schumacher 2005, Mika Hakkinen in 2000, and Damon Hill in 1997.
Lewis also said, I've got no confidence in the car. Not great, babes.
Not great. What did Ferrari do? I think it was Ferrari that had that really bad upgrade package that they just gave them over.
Charles's car just kept like going one pace and then he would go to turn a corner and then it would all of a sudden just completely change paces, like speeds, and I was like, what? It was like hard. It was a hard watch.
Yeah. The hard part with the new regulations is that sometimes you can't necessarily, at least as a viewer, I can't always tell if it's a regulation issue or if it's a car issue.
Yeah.
Like, I can't necessarily be sure, like, oh, are those speed changes a thing because they have to charge their battery now, or is it like an actual car issue? Yeah. So I would not be surprised if teams are like not necessarily struggling, but having to like double check on that one too because the braking and throttle is so different now.
Yeah.
Isaac and his engineer. What the is he doing? Can he even do that? Yeah, mate, we saw it. No, but like, why? Isaac, I don't know who you're talking about, but I love you for it.
That sounds like something I would say. No, but like, why?
But like, why? Isaac, I love you dearly.
Arvid didn't set a time because of the issue with his gearbox. Oscar fastest, then Kimmy, then George. Look at that.
Oh my God. Free practice 3. There was a kid in the Ferrari garage with a little suit and helmet on, and Charles gave him a high five and signed his suit, and it was really cute.
And fun fact, it's the same kids last year that dressed up. They're so cute.
They're so cute.
I think they're siblings. It's a little boy dressed up as Lando, and then a girl as Max, and another girl dressed up as Charles. They're so cute.
That's so cute.
They were like mascots of last year's race because people were like, oh my God, you are so cute.
Also, can we get my brother that? Can we get him a suit? Apparently, after yesterday's so the reason that Lando didn't start in FP2 was because he had a hydraulics issue, and then in FP3, McLaren was having an energy recovery system issue, and it is Lando's second ERS for the year, which is bad.
Yeah, something is in the air in McLaren. They kept calling Charles' car lively, and I think that's a really funny way of describing the shit show at Ferrari. It's kind of like them saying it was like a handful. I'm like, well, you're just I've kind
of already said this, but this is my hot take, is that I don't think Ferrari is necessarily as much of a shit show this year. I think they're still destroying their drivers' mental health, but I think that this race was an outlier in terms of the like shit show percentage.
Yeah. Also, this is so random. Charles was on the cover of Vogue China while he was in Japan while they were there for the race.
Oscar was kind of in Nico's way at one point. And then someone was in Valtteri's way as well, and I think it was Lewis, and it happened like twice. And every time the drivers complain to their engineers just go, yeah, I know, that's not nice.
That's not nice.
And it just makes me laugh. So FP3, Lando went in with about 24 minutes left because of the ERS issue. So he's not doing great. And then Ollie almost smacked into the barriers. So, foreshadowing.
They called it an alley-oop in the highlights reel, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal that. George was behind him, and he said, whoa, that was, and then he was just like, good save. He was like, my God. Liam got mad at his car when he went off track. Honestly, what is new? Liam is always mad.
That man's always got a bone to pick. It's what's new.
Arvid got mad when he got caught in a traffic jam, and he just said, man, this Ferrari is off his end, but I don't know what Ferrari it was.
What does that phrase even mean? Sometimes they fight on track, and I feel like those like shitty, those like shitty like TikTok POVs that's like not like other girls were like, look at me. Don't do that. It's not worth it. This isn't you.
Nico got salty because Oscar was weaving. And I feel like Nico we never really hear anything on his radio. But his radio is such potato quality, first of all. It's terrible.
It's not great quality.
And his engineer, again, went, that's not very nice.
That's not very nice.
There was a lady in the stands with a very realistic George Russell mask thing on. And George thought it was hilarious.
See, I didn't see this, and I need to find a picture of this at some point because that's really
it was so funny. Like, you know how when people will make big bobblehead masks and they'll attach it. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I
have not ever.
You'll attach a cup or something to the back of it so that you put it in your mouth, and then it looks like it's just floating above your head, so it looks like it's actually attached to your neck. It looks like Photoshop. That's what she had, and it was the photo of George being a diva with the big sunglasses on. That's the photo she had. So I think, yeah.
I need to find a picture of this because I can't picture that very well.
We finally have reached Quali.
We gotta move it. So Quali.
I woke up to 3 missed texts from Alise, and it said, quote unquote, literally nothing is happening. I know you're asleep, but this Quali is so boring. They're just driving. They're just going vroom vroom.
I will say I sent those, and then immediately stuff started happening.
Yeah, because
immediately
because of course.
Oh, maybe it was. Oh, no, it was Mercedes. Okay, because during Q1, Mercedes made a rear end change between FP3 and Quali, and that was what gave their drivers inherent oversteer. It was not Ferrari, it was Mercedes.
Okay.
I knew I referenced it later. Also, there were people with inflatable tires on their heads, and I love that. Where can I get one? Where do I purchase one?
I saw that. They were cosplaying the different tire types. It was really funny. Also, Sam Off Track was at Suzuka. Their outfits were amazing.
Yes.
Go
live, laugh,
follow
love,
them on Instagram and TikTok.
George's surface temperature was out of balance. He was having a lot of oversteer, and he was feeling like his rear was floating. And so, George is not having a great time.
Yeah.
Because why would he be? They're having about Aston Martin. One of the commentators goes, they're having a bad weekend in terms of pace. At least they're there. Yep. At least one of them finished the race.
Franco actually made it past Q1. Maybe that's mean. I don't know. I just feel like he never does. Yeah, and I totally get what Alise was saying because I was watching Q1 and the highlights reel is 3 minutes long, and I was like, oh,
nothing happened. Q2, it's so funny to me every time they say every session this year because there's been 2.
Yeah.
This is the
what
third.
Do you mean?
And we know I'm watching too much British. I rewatched Dairy Girls and I watched How to Get to Heaven from Belfast recently. And we know I'm watching too much British and like Irish content because the way I wrote this was mate, there's been 2. And so I think I need to stop watching British content and Irish content because I'm going to start mimicking. But yeah, no, this is the third session. I really don't think you could say every session this year when there's been 2 of them so far. Now 3.
Hulkenberg hasn't been in Q3 here since 2016, and he won't be. And I was like, oh.
They very clearly thought he was going to make it to Q3, and I was like, guys, this is why you don't start the sentence until you're sure.
Yeah.
You can't start guessing until you know that he's going to make it.
Yeah,
because then it sounds like that.
They were saying that right as he was about to cross the finish line, and then he didn't make it. And I was like, why would you even...
He had a right knee contusion, and as somebody who did cheer for 2 years, I would not be surprised if he had a concussion. He was like kind of stumbling when he got out, and so having a concussion affects the part of your brain that controls coordination, and so I would not be surprised if he had a concussion. And in comparison to the right knee contusion, whatever the hell that is, they just didn't mention it. George goes on the radio, goes, "Our luck these last 2 races, George. There is a man down. I love you, but have a little sympathy. I fear all these luck is worse." On a lighter note, they used straw brooms to sweep everything off the track, and it made me laugh. It just made me giggle. But he had a 50G impact into the walls. So he got, which basically means that everything is like 50 times. Gravity is 50 times though, like his weight, and I think the weight of his car as well. And to put it into perspective, Ollie crashed into a concrete wall at Silverstone in 2022. And when he did that, he crashed at 42 Gs and he was pissing blood and fainted. So Ollie got really lucky. Esteban did, yeah.
Franco's POV of this crash is crazy because he was driving and then you just see Ollie fly in front of him. And the TikTok audio that I thought of was the one where it's like the car driving by and then the car with like the really loud music blaring, just like...
Yeah. I also want to point out that the Grand Prix Drivers Association or the GPDA literally told the FIA on Friday and has been telling them since and Andrea Stella has been telling them since Bahrain that something like this was going to happen. And they did put out a statement and I have it screenshotted. So I'm going to read it super quick because I think it's interesting because it's total BS. Since their introduction, the 2026 regulations have been the subject of ongoing discussion between the FIA, teams, power unit manufacturers, drivers, and FOM. By design, these regulations include a number of adjustable parameters, particularly in relation to energy management, which allow for optimization based on real-world data. It has been the consistent position of all stakeholders that a structured review would take place after the opening phase of the season to allow for sufficient data to be gathered and analyzed. A number of meetings are therefore scheduled in April to assess the operation of the new regulations and to determine whether any refinements are required. Any potential adjustments, particularly those related to energy management, require careful simulation and detailed analysis. The FIA will continue to work in close and constructive collaboration with all stakeholders to ensure the best possible outcome for the sport, and safety will always remain a core element of the FIA's mission. At this stage, any speculation regarding the nature of potential changes will be premature. Further updates will be communicated in due course. So you're listening to your stakeholders and not the drivers, is what I'm hearing, which is bad. Because your stakeholders aren't actually driving those cars and aren't actually in danger. Lance, at lap 31, so a little bit after Ollie crashed, he went back into the pits and then he got carried into the garage. And they just didn't say why. And I have to imagine it's just because the Aston Martin is bad.
George has dropped a place and is now at the back of the pack direct quote. "It's gone wrong for Russell." Someone trademark that.
Also, I think we're using back of the pack a little bit loosely. Yeah. He was in 5th.
The Ferraris were duking it out for P3, and they almost collided 4 times. And the commentators were holding their breath. They were like, "Oh, no."
They really thought they were gonna crash too. They were like, "Yeah, they're gonna crash into each other," and then they didn't. So Lando about Lewis going, he needs to give the position. Lando, do your job. Because Lewis, the whole reason that he said this is because Lewis went off and then Lewis locked up and went off. And then Lewis was like, well, he has to give the position And the stewards were like, okay, we'll look and see if he did the whole leaving track and gaining an advantage thing, which he didn't, because Lewis was already ahead of Lando, so it doesn't matter. And the stewards were like, yeah, no further investigation, no further action, so they knew that too. And Lando took the position from him a lap later anyway, so who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Do your job, Lando. Just drive.
Also,
Just drive your
apparently
car.
there was
Just go vroom vroom.
a graphics issue, because Elise said Liam plummeted from P9 to P20 for no reason with no mention and then went right back. So
Graphics issue, presumably.
the math don't math. Like that, George took third from Charles and then immediately lost it.
Immediately lost it, which did piss me off. And by the time Kimmy won, 14.4 second gap. Kimmy, I love you so, so much.
Yeah.
Youngest world championship leader ever, by the way. And he and George were talking. So I actually saw a TikTok literally this morning that was like, oh, like, I think George is going to like kind of start something. But like during the race, even though George kind of had like even though George's race sucked, he still was like, hell yeah, Kimmy, like get in there. So I don't know if George is really going to start anything, at least not right now.
They said Oscar Piastri finally starts a Grand Prix. Way to rub it in. And
Way
then
to
Oscar
rub it
said,
in.
When Oscar
Don't remind us. Like,
Oscar
come on
got
now.
P3 when he finished. She said, I guess when we start these things, we actually do all right.
Which is so funny. I love
He's
you,
so
Oscar.
funny.
I love you so much. That is all that we have for you today. As there are no races due to the month of April, since Bahrain and Saudi Arabia have been canceled due to the war in Iran, we will be doing other things. I will be doing a rewind on the history of the Bahrain and Saudi Arabia tracks, and I believe Chloe will be doing an
I'll be doing an update on the F1 Academy season so far, which is also cut short because of these cancellations. So they've only had one race, and it was China, but I will make it work.
So, you know.
Because there are a lot of new
and
things.
we'll both be doing a silly season saying what we would do if we had the ability to bring the drivers to America and hang out with them for a day, because I think that's fun. That might change. We can change it if you want to change that topic. And those will be coming out in a roulette wheel sort of fashion on April 10th, 17th, and 24th.
Anyway, until then, make sure you follow us on our YouTube and Spotify channels. Like this video. Comment anything you want us to do a silly season episode on. And then make sure you follow us on Instagram at Ithaca Cooldown Room.
We will see you next time, but until we do, have a beautiful week. Mwah.
Mwah.